Hi, this is Pat Johnson, your sociology instructor. In this mini lecture, we're going to talk about some of the many advantages of going to a community college versus a four-year school or university. The first thing that most people think about when going to a community college is the lower cost. For example, here in North Carolina, the tuition currently for going to a community college is $76 per credit hour with a maximum of 1,216 for 16 credits, plus books and some pretty small fees per semester. A Pell Grant more than pays for the tuition of going to a community college, so often students will get some money back. Let's contrast that with going to a fairly inexpensive state university. The closest one near is East Carolina University, and according to their website, per semester, their tuition for an undergraduate degree is $3,594, plus the cheapest room would be $2,760, meals another $2,042, plus at least $300 for parking, and financial aid doesn't cover parking, to a total of about $8,500 a semester, plus books on top of that. So about $17,000 a year, which is not covered by or is not totally covered by financial aid. The bottom line is most students find that going to community college is much less expensive than going to a four-year school or university. Of course, private colleges, private universities are going to be much, much, much more expensive than going to a state school like East Carolina University. Another difference between community colleges and four-year schools, colleges or universities, private or public, is that most community colleges have what is called an open door policy. I once was listening to a student come out of the admissions office at our little campus, and they were smiling and yelling, "They accepted me, I got in." And I didn't want to burst the student's bubble, but I had to chuckle to myself a little because we have an open door policy, meaning if you have that high school credential or equivalency credential, you get in. Now, you may not necessarily be starting with college transfer level classes or college level classes. You may need some remedial developmental classes, but you can get in. Most four-year schools are competitive, meaning you submit SAT or ACT scores, you may write an essay, you may need letters of recommendation, and you are competing against other students for admission to the school. Another difference between community colleges and universities is that we have much smaller class sizes. So the picture in the lower left-hand corner of your screen is me teaching in my regular classroom to a seated class, and that class only holds 26 students. I rarely have that many. A typical class size for me for a seated class is about 18 to 20 students. Contrast that to the picture on the right, which is a typical lecture hall at a university. I remember when I first started at the University of Idaho, going into my first lecture hall and being amazed at the hundreds and hundreds of seats in that room, knowing that I would not get that individualized attention that you might see at a community college. Another difference of a community college versus a university or a other four-year school is that my job at a community college is to focus on teaching. I don't have to do any research. I don't have to publish any research in publications. My focus is on teaching. At most universities, at most four-year schools, the faculty are hired based on what research they have done. Some are hired on teaching, but most tenured faculty got that way because of their research skills. Also, many freshman and sophomore level classes at universities are not taught by professors at all. They're taught by graduate students. In other words, students who earn some money by teaching freshmen and sophomores while the student is getting their graduate degree. So there's a difference there. Other differences between community colleges and four-year schools is that community colleges, believe it or not, have more diversity. There are students from different backgrounds. There's much more age diversity at community college. You'll just see more different types of students at a community college. We're also very important to first-generation students. A lot of students who have parents who didn't go to college find that a community college is a good fit because of that more personalized attention. Community colleges are often much more local. Here in North Carolina, there has to be a community college within 45 minutes driving distance of every citizen in the state. So you see community colleges all across the state, even in very rural areas, to serve those populations. Also, community college have two-year technical programs. In other words, not college transfer degrees, but we also have, besides college transfer degrees, technical and vocational degrees meant to give students skills that will get them in a paying job fairly rapidly. Of course, there are negatives to community colleges. We don't have the big sports teams that major schools have. We don't have all the clubs that major schools have. You don't have that going away to college experience and living in a dorm. But for many students, a community college is a good fit, and you should never be ashamed of having started at a community college because it's a really great opportunity and a good financial decision for many students.